Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Mindset Elevation Coach, Intentional Living Guide, Linda Joy. Also the publisher of the beloved Aspire magazine that has been touching women's lives since 2006. And I still pinch myself when I say that. And I also want to share some exciting news. If you are craving a soul nurturing community of women really interested in personal and spiritual development, and you're yearning to learn a variety of transformational topics in a safe, high vibe community, then I want to invite you to join me on the virtual campus of Inspired Living University. Inspired Living University is a sacred curriculum and community for women, featuring live mindset elevation calls with yours truly, monthly themed circles with one of our expert instructors, quarterly virtual retreats, and so much more. And on top of that, there are over 30 high-value digital courses waiting for you as part of your curriculum from leading experts in their fields of personal and spiritual development. Now, we only open a couple times a year, and guess what? On 8/8/2024, we are doing a complete rebirth and giant celebration because we did a remodel. Get on the VIP list at inspiredlivinguniversity.com. I got to tell you something. I've been following this guest that I have here with me today for a long time. One, I love her sass, I love her style, and more importantly, her messages always spoke to me. I'm as you all know, a creative visionary, and many people say, how are you running 5 media brands and taking so much time off? Well, I had to find my way of getting things done and staying out of overwhelm. And following Sam for a long time, her first book that I discovered with her was called Get It Done, Start Right Where You Are. And I'm like, I love this woman. So I'm
Aw.
excited. Oh, I am so excited for this conversation. And I know, Sam, my listeners will be too. So Sam Bennett is joining me today. She's the author, as I shared, of Get It Done, Start Right Where You Are. And most recently, the book called The 15-Minute Method, The Surprisingly Simple Art of Getting It Done. She's a writer, speaker, actor, and creativity productivity specialist, and the founder of TheRealSamBennett.com, which is a company committed to helping overwhelmed creatives and frustrated overachievers get unstuck. She's also a popular course creator on LinkedIn, learning with over, are you listening to this, guys? With over 1 million class participants worldwide. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're here.
I got to tell you, I think what really speaks to me the most is when you teach, it's so simple, like to implement, like you make everything doable.
Thank you. Yes, that's I love to hear that. That's exactly my aim. I have to say one of my favorite sounds in the whole world is when people say, "Oh." I love that sound. It's the sound to me of like, "Oh, that's easy," or "Oh, I could do that," or "Oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting." Like I just love that little, it's the opposite of which I think how a lot of us feel a lot of the time.
So what I would love to do, and we're going to talk a lot about the 15 minutes method, but I'd love to know what led you to this work, because this is your specialty. So I've noticed a theme over 8 years of having this show that sometimes our mess becomes our message. So
Mm.
tell us, was this something you struggled with, and this is why you created these systems and processes? So tell us a little bit about you and what led you to this work.
Yeah, thank you. So I started out as an actor. I was one of those kids who put on plays in the front room and in the backyard, and I went to theater camp and I did all the plays at school and um, later went to school for theater and then eventually got a job at the Second City Theater in Chicago, which was a very big deal. And and then moved to Los Angeles, and I had one of those acting careers in LA and then I mean in Chicago and then in Los Angeles, that went well enough that you didn't want to give up on it. I mean, I had an agent, I was on TV, things were happening, but it wasn't really enough to support a person. And so I always had a lot of different jobs and gigs and projects and shows and a million different things going on all the time. Busy is perhaps my favorite narcotic, maybe my second favorite narcotic. Um, but um, And it wasn't so much that I was having trouble getting things done. In fact, sort of the opposite. I realized I was kind of good at getting things done, but that a lot of my friends struggled. And I just have it's one of the little quirks of my mind that I go, well, how would I solve that problem? Because there's no right way, right? There's no right way to have an acting career. There's no right way to have a podcast. There's no right way to be a teacher or an accountant or a parent or a friend, right? There's just your way. So I started teaching this class called Get It Done. And I thought, well, that's a dumb name. I'll have to change that. And no, it's like my whole brand. Um, I was teaching it at a church basement in Van Nuys, California to 11 people or something. And over time, I just got more and more and more interested in this question of how do highly creative people make decisions? When you're good at a lot of things, how do you know what to do? When you have a million different ways you could promote what you do and you're a little afraid of self-promotion, what do you do? When you're trying to juggle having a spiritual life and staying fit and being a parent and being a friend and having a business, like how do you fit all this stuff into the day? And it was just one foot after the other from there.
I love that. So it was almost like you wanted to be of service because you saw your friends struggling and others struggling. So what's the difference between the Get It Done book and the 15-minute method book? Like it kind of all shows the same audience, right?
They're definitely related. So Get It Done is the book that I wrote because I was reading a lot of organization books and time management books and how to get your shit together books. And I I learned a lot and appreciated a lot from those books. But highly creative people don't care who's moved their cheese, right?
Exactly.
It's not really our thing. And then I was reading all these creativity books, but they were very much in the vein of like, unleash your inner creative. And I'm like, no, no, plenty unleashed. Thank you very much. The maybe leashing would be helpful. I don't know. Um, so I just couldn't find anything out there that talked to, again, highly creative people with a lot of talents and skills and ideas that help them with their project management. When you're not going to the same office every day, how do you create a structure so you can get big things done? And especially big things that no one else really knows or cares about, right? There's no quarterly review on how your novel is going.
Yeah, yeah.
There's nobody checking in to see how your, gluten-free commitment is going. There's nobody checking in to say, how's your spiritual development going? So that's stuff that we know is really important and we care a lot about, but there's not a structure, there's not a societal construct, there's not a lot of help, frankly. And a lot of the help that's out there is kind of dumb.
Well, it doesn't work. It
It
depends
doesn't
on how
work.
you're wired.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that speaking, I can really relate because I can remember I'm 62 now, but like in my late 20s, I had my first business 32 years ago. I remember buying every productivity book. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And I'd read them and I'd be like, I felt I would try to implement and I would feel like a failure every single time I bought one of those
Mm,
books
yeah.
because I thought, why is it working for everybody else and not me? But I'm wired, it sounds similar to you. And I'm a that creative visionary, right?
Mhm.
So I felt like a failure reading all those darn books that
Yes,
it didn't work. So I can really relate to what you said, like, they're dumb in the regard to they don't work for everyone.
that's right.
Yeah, and some of the processes and systems are great, but we have to find what works for us and not judge ourselves. Have you noticed self-judgment's a big thing?
Oh, huge,
Yeah.
huge. And yeah, and more, I think one of the wonderful shifts in the world that I've seen since I've been in business, I think I started full-time in 2009, is more and more people raising their hand and saying, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I just have ADD, or I just have ADHD, or I'm neurospicy in some way or another. And my brain does work differently than everybody else's. The world was not made for me, it was made for the other 80% of the world. Um, so yeah, I get to design my own systems and build my own little house in the woods, to do my work so I can do my work in the way that works for me. And I love that. I love seeing that. So Get It Done is sort of project management for people with a lot of ideas. Uh, and the 15-minute method, the new book, is really just taking one of the ideas from Get It Done and exploring it more deeply, which is this idea of spending 15 minutes a day, every single day, on something that matters to you.
Mm.
I don't care if it matters to anyone else. I don't care if it matters to everyone else. What I notice is that we are all so busy all the time, and we're very attached to busy. There's this international game of I'm so busy poker going on. Like, oh, I'm so busy. No, I'm so busy. Oh, you think you're busy? I am so busy. Like, okay, drop it. Stop saying it. Just drop the narrative. You don't get bonus points for busy. That just tells me you don't know how to manage your calendar. So stop saying it. Um, but we get everything done for everybody else. And the things that we know would really make a difference to us somehow don't happen. They don't even make it onto the list.
Yeah. And especially for women, I notice because we're like programmed, put everyone else before you. And then you're so exhausted at the end of the day, you realize you didn't go to the gym, you didn't eat all your meals. And I was one of those, so I'm speaking from
Yeah,
experience. And finally, it's like, come on, move yourself to the top of your own being list. And that's what that sounds like something that nourishes your soul, nourishes you as a person, as an
that's right.
individual.
And you're right, there is something sort of secretly subversive about this because we are absolutely told that the only thing that matters is the things you do on behalf of other people.
Yes. Yeah, I have
Oh,
so
go ahead.
many clients that are midlife. A lot of them are coaches, therapists, etc. But also my readers, and I've been hearing this sentence time and time again, whether it's from a contributor or a reader or a listener to the show. It's like, Linda, I feel like I suddenly woke up in the middle of my life and said, how the hell did I get here? This is what I created? Because they went through life with their blinders on, following what everyone said they should do. And suddenly they're like, oh my God, I am tired, overwhelmed, burnt out, unhappy. It's all because they just followed everyone else's shoulds and have tos and not their own sacred self, right? There's a lot of ways we could describe that, but is that what you see too?
That's exactly right. And we hear over and over again that, the number one thing people in hospice care say is, I wish I had not cared so much about what everybody else was thinking. I wish I
Yes.
had not lived my life so much for the approval of other people. I wish I had done more of what was on my heart to do.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
And
Um,
at the same time, though, I get it. We are busy people. We do live a busy life. We have a lot of commitments and things that matter to us. And I don't want you, throwing out the baby with the bathwater, right? I mean, so this is why it's 15 minutes, right? I don't know about you. I read these articles sometimes. They're like, you should work out for, 4 hours a week. And I'm like, really? Which 4 hours is that?
yeah.
You want to,
Uh,
you want to help me find those?
that's the tough part. And what we're going to do, Sam, we're going to take our first break because then I want to dive in even deeper. I am loving this conversation. We're going to take a break, my friends, but in the meantime, I want you to go to therealsambennett.com, grab a copy of both her books, see what she's up to, check out all her offerings, and we'll be back in a moment.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a Woman's Soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation and let's magnetize and monetize.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversation. And guess who's with me today? The one and only Sam Bennett, author of the just released The 15-Minute Method, the surprisingly simple act of getting it done. And this whole conversation is about helping overwhelmed creatives and frustrated overachievers. I know some of you are nodding your head, get unstuck. So one of the things that I notice that for myself, but I also see with my clients, is overwhelm, which I lived in it for so long, was always tied to perfectionism for many women, not all.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen? Because I know the book talks about perfectionism too. Do you see a correlation between the overwhelm and the perfectionism?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This,
I know the frustration, believe me, I know, because it's
yeah, no, it's so insidious, this perfectionism, right? And I have to say, if it worked, I would be so in favor of it. You know, if you could actually sit and think and ponder and fret and wring your hands and, you know, obsess over every little detail and then actually have things turn out perfect, I would be like, yay, what a great system. But it doesn't work. You don't end up with a more perfect result just because you obsess over it. In fact, for most of you overthinkers and overachievers, your version of your first draft is better than most people's, life work. So get off it a little bit and quit. One of the express tickets to overwhelm, because overwhelm is not an outside problem,
exactly. Thank you.
right? It's an inside problem. And you do it to yourself when you have an idea for something, and then all of a sudden you think, well, but it's got to be exactly right. And well, I don't know what tile to use. And how do I call that person? And what should I do about this? And it's like, quiet. Quit flipping yourself out. Take 15 minutes, write down a list of simple 15-minute tasks, spend 15 minutes a day on one of them, do it again tomorrow, do it again the next day. Do it again the next day. See what happens. See how it unfolds. Let the spirit of the project guide you a little bit. Stay alert for the sparkly breadcrumbs. You may get a couple of weeks in and go, wow, I don't really care about this. Like, this isn't really doing it for me. Great. Switch projects. Do something else. This feeling of like, well, once I choose it, I'm committed forever. You better finish everything on your plate, young lady. It's like, no.
Exactly.
This is your life and your joy. And we know that when we spend, again, even just 15 minutes writing or in prayer and meditation or stretching or playing guitar or dancing or sitting in the garden with the sun on our face or connecting with old friends or whatever it is, cleaning off this pile of paper on my desk, like whatever it is, you're going to feel so much better at the end of the 15 minutes. And then again, you're going to do it again tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. And that cumulative effect and that daily progress and that keeping your promise to yourself,
Yes.
because this is the other thing I see with, again, especially women who, I mean, maybe men do it too. I shouldn't gender generalize, but this endless self-blame and self-criticism. It's like, babe, just try try something fun. You know, we build esteem and respect with other people by keeping our promises to them, and we build self-respect and self-esteem by keeping our promises to ourselves.
Yeah, and you know what I that's a big one for me because I always broke my promises to myself, but I made damn sure I kept my promises to everyone else. And then one day, probably, I don't know, 20 years ago, I realized how backwards that was. And I tell
Hmm.
my clients, your soul is always listening.
Yeah.
And I just believe in divine principles. So I'm like, if you're always breaking the promise to yourself, then it's like undervaluing the whole essence of who you are. And what I love about your 15 minutes a day is, and I'm curious if you found this, is if we can commit to that 15 minutes, quite often all our blocks fall to the wayside because we've made the commitment to the 15 minutes. Have you discovered that the 15 minutes just organically, naturally turns to 20, 30 or maybe not every day, but some days because they've made the commitment to themselves, which opens up an energy. So have you noticed that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Often you'll sit down for 15 minutes and get up 3 hours later, and that's beautiful, right? We love being
Yeah.
in a flow state, right? We love it when it's just rolling out and it's easy and we're in it and it just feels great. But I also want to say, don't wait for that,
No, exactly.
right? Because this is what I hear is like, well, yeah, I want to write a book, but I need, 3 months in Provence. Or yeah, I want to clean out the garage, but I need 2 weekends in a row. Like, yeah, okay. I want the Provence and the 2 weekends too, but guess what? It's not happening. It's not happening. Not today. So what do you have today? You've got 15 minutes. So go
Yeah.
sit in that garage and maybe look at it for 15 minutes. Or maybe open one box and just see what's in there. Just these be okay with baby steps because we know baby steps often lead to quantum leaps.
Well, they definitely do. And I think too is our ego doesn't get in the way when we say, in most cases, when we say, I'm going to commit to 15 minutes. But that same project, if we said, I have to find 3 hours to do something, we automatically don't even start
Right.
because our mind is like, you don't have 3 hours, you're going to do grocery shopping, clean the house, etc. But 15 minutes, what I love about this, it's like, I can do 15 minutes. So that little negative Nelly voice kind of quiets down. And
Yeah.
that's when I noticed for me is because I gave myself permission to be present with whatever I'm doing, that I get into the flow easier than if I said, I got to put 3 hours aside. It would never happen.
Or it
So
does happen, but then you somehow magically spend the 3 hours, you know, doing something else entirely, scrolling
oh,
through
that's
TikTok.
funny. Isn't it funny? It's like we can spend the same 3 hours doing the things that won't give us joy in life.
That's right. And then feel bad about it. So now not only are we not relaxing, but we're also not feeling good about relaxing, not relaxing. It's a terrible
Yeah.
trap.
And let's
But
talk
you're
about
exactly
that
right.
because so many people feel, and I did, and I know many women do, that they go, oh, it's selfish to take time for myself when I got A, B, C, D, E, F to do. What do you have to say about that, Sam? Because I follow you on social media, so I know you got some things to say.
Yeah, this is a big fat lie, right? I hear it all the time. Oh, that would be selfish. I couldn't take that time for myself. My kids need me. My work needs me. No, they don't. No, they don't. Not for 15 minutes, they don't. Right? So, and here's what's actually selfish. What's actually selfish is you walking around exhausted, self-murdering, tired, with no sense of humor, and the rest of us have to deal with you like that.
Exactly.
That is selfish. You spend 15 minutes a day on something that matters to you, and there's a light in your eyes. You're a better listener. You're less reactive. Like, we love this version of you. And you know how it is, like, when you do something for yourself, it's like, I was joking around about working out. I actually love working out. And when I would get to the yeah, and when I could, and when I would get to the gym really early, and then you spend all day feeling like, "That's right, I'm awesome. I went to the gym. How are you?" Like,
Mhm.
hair toss. Like, we love that version of you. So to give yourself the gift of 15 minutes is giving the rest of us the gift of a full, lit up, empowered you.
That's a powerful message right there because we women have been programmed that, again, we're at the end of the list. But you just said something. When we are exhausted, reactive, and not at our highest best for our family, that's not being of service. That's not being the highest level of love. And I remember experiencing that. I was always reactive because I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
So I love that. Do this as a gift to your loved ones.
And what do you want to teach your children? What do you want to teach the people you live with? That, mommy is available 100% of the time for everything you need? No, that's not the lesson we want to teach our children. We want to teach our children women have lives. Women have interior lives. Women have desires. Women spend time on things that matter to them. Women do not sacrifice every minute of every day for other people.
Yeah. It's such a powerful message because um, I just see so many people in overwhelm. And one of the things I tell my clients who are all spiritual entrepreneurs, and I go, darling, all you're going to hear from me is overwhelm's a choice.
That's
We
exactly
all
right.
have the same 24 hours in a day. And that's coming from someone, not from judgment, because I lived it. I was making those choices. And now I have intentional life, intentional business, intentional home. But
Yes,
I had to prioritize me, right? From the inside out. Kind of everything you're saying really is just resonates with me. But I tell them what you choose to put in your calendar is all completely your choice.
that's right.
And
That's right.
that was a big lesson for me to learn. We're going to take our next break, Sam. When we come back, I want to talk about in the book you say busy is a narcotic, and I can't wait for your take on this because I believe the same thing as someone that was stuck in that addiction. So we're going to be back in a moment, my friends. I'm with Sam Bennett, the author of the brand new The 15-Minute Method, The Surprisingly Simple Art of Getting It Done. Grab a copy at therealsambennett.com and be sure to check out everything else she has over there. We'll be right back.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Are you struggling to grow your mission-driven business in a way that feeds your soul and fulfills your purpose? When you discover your unique human design and divine blueprint, you'll feel empowered in your business, aligned with your inner wisdom, and open to the flow of abundance and success. Nancy O'Keefe is a certified human design specialist and intuitive business coach, successfully coaching entrepreneurs for over 25 years. She is passionate about helping you understand your divine design and your personal formula for success. She knows what it takes after creating her own multi-seven-figure firm. Nancy helps women peel back the layers of who they've been taught to be to reveal who they truly are, so they can build an abundant and sustainable business that feeds their soul. Schedule your complimentary call today at nancyokeefecoaching.com.
If I could be you,
and you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
Each other's mind.
walk a mile in my shoes.
walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out, and for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Hey friends, you're listening to Inspired Conversations. Thanks for circling up with myself and Sam Bennett. And Sam, right before the break, I was mentioning that you used the phrase, busy is a narcotic. I would love to dive into that because just reading those words, I'm like, oh, I can see how so many of us are or were addicted to that story.
Well, for sure. I mean, the thing to remember is it's not all your fault, frankly. It's not a character defect. I mean, we're tribal animals, right? We are designed to live in a group, and in fact, we know that we cannot survive alone, right? And in some ways, our deepest fear is being put out on an ice floe. Our biggest fear is being thrown out of the group because we know, our animal selves know, that we cannot survive alone, as much as we may wish that everyone would just go away sometimes, right? So we are very aware of the good opinion of the group. When people are always like, oh, I'm a people pleaser. I'm like, yeah, you're designed to be. That's part of your software, and overall, it's a good thing. You want to be seen to be contributing more than you take. You want to use your skills and talents to benefit the group. You want to, be helpful, be of service, be good, right? And feel like the reciprocity, which we all feel so strongly, is in our favor. Like, okay, I've done good things, so therefore, when I need help, or when I get old, or when I have an illness, everybody's going to take care of me then, right? This is how the world goes. So it's a very natural thing to want to be seen, to be busy, to want to be seen, to be contributive, to want to be seen, to be doing things that are good for ourselves and our family and the group as a whole. However, there is a point at which, well, there was a point for me when I was so overbooked all the time, and part of what was happening was this feeling of, if I am busy enough, then the only feeling I will have to have is tired.
Mm.
Busy
That
kept me,
resonates.
busy kept me out of kept me dog paddling through my depression and anxiety. It kept me dog paddling past the fact that my marriage wasn't working that great. It kept me dog paddling past early childhood trauma. Like, there was all kinds of things that I was like, too busy to think about it. Thank you. Bye. And, like all strategies, it worked a little bit, but eventually it stopped working entirely.
Yeah, that resonates. You don't want to be alone with your thoughts and your feelings, especially if you have childhood stuff, and that's what I can say my busyness came from for those first 40 years of my life. It was like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to be alone with myself. What do you mean I'm going to have 5 minutes to myself? Oh my, must find something to do. It was like
Right.
almost like a inner frenetic feeling. And now my family, the healing has come because my family calls me the hermit.
Mm.
Because I'm happy just to be. I'm happy to be home. And I tell them, listen, guys, I ran for myself for 40 years. It's been nice for the last 20 years to really dive into who I am and be fully present with myself. It is possible. And it's such a more peaceful existence.
And again, you don't have to, move to the mountaintop to get it.
Exactly.
Truly 15 minutes a day and again, anything. You want to tie flies, if you want to fly fishing, fantastic. You want to go through old letters, great. You want to organize your pictures, fine. You want to stretch and, dance, groovy. Like, really, or all of the above. Like, make a big list of 100 things and pick one, do a different one every day. There's no rules around this except to do it and to notice how you feel, and notice what feels nurturing and fun and what feels yicky and less fun. And you mentioned this earlier, Linda. I think it's so important. The other magic of the 15-minute thing is that it hopscotches right over your perfectionism. because
Yes.
it's 15 minutes. How perfect is it going to be, you know? So, and you're going to do it again tomorrow and the next day. So all of a sudden you have a lot more freedom to play, to screw it up, to do a bad job, to, you know, and it's amazing the cumulative, it's amazing the immediate effect. I mean, I have a one of the things you'll see on the real Sam Bennett .com is I've got a thing we sell called the Daily Practicum. And it's a subscription. People pay, I think, $97 a month. And here's how simple it is. Every day, every weekday at 12 noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, we hop on Zoom, say hi, turn on the timer. 15 minutes later, the timer goes off. And everybody turns their camera back on and they look up at me with this post-orgasmic glow. They're so happy. And this and they're always like, I can't believe it. I just made that phone call that I've been putting off for 6 weeks. I can't believe it. I just, cleared this area from my closet, or I just did this, or I just did nothing. I just sat quietly for 15 minutes. Whatever, I just communicated with my animals. Whatever it is. So the immediate benefit is there. And then the cumulative benefit. I mean, if you write every day for 15 minutes, you can write about 250 words in 15 minutes if you don't edit yourself too much. You do that every day. In about 400 days, you've got 50,000 words. That's a book.
Oh, yeah, baby. And I love this because it's just breaking down everything, our dreams, into doable steps. I do have a question. Do you have, or do you recommend, it's the same time every day, or it's as long as you get your 15 minutes in? But what's your recommendation?
Yeah, my first recommendation is always do what works for you, right? You're the authority on your life.
Mhm.
If I was going to make a recommendation, I would say do it in the morning, just because the day gets away from you. It gets away from me, and my motivation declines as
Oh,
the
yeah,
day goes,
mine too.
right? So, and I do mine. I do this little prayer and meditation practice that I sort of made up for myself, and I do it before I'm even off the mattress. Like, I open my eyes and I do it. So I do it right away. And I sort of love being in that still slightly dreamy state when I do it. And I notice that when I skip it, boy, do I notice it later on in the day.
Yeah,
I
my
feel,
morning practice is important to me too. It's everyone that knows me and follows me, they know I'm an early bird. Like this morning was 4:15.
Mhm.
But that time is so sacred. It sets my intention and my energy for the day.
Yeah, I love those early hours when, no one needs you, no one's calling you, you don't, for God's sake, whatever you're going to do your 15 minutes before you check your email.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a big
Before
one
you
for
check
me.
your email, before you check your email, before you check your email, because we all know what happens once you open the email. Like, forget it. It's all over. So yeah, I would say do it in the morning. If you can do it at the same time every day, I think that's terrific. Um, Certainly habit stacking is really useful, by which I mean tying it to something that you're already doing. So I already have to take the dog out every morning. So I'm actually going to walk us down to the coffee shop and spend the 15 minutes at the coffee shop, writing and having a tea, and then walk back, or whatever it is. So if you can sort of link it to something else that you're already doing, that can be super effective. But really, whatever works for you.
Okay, and then in the book you talk about something called grumpy magic, in which pulled me right in. So, you're going to share some tips on how we can make it happen in our lives. But first, define grumpy magic.
Grumpy magic is, I think there's a whole sort of cult of positivity in the personal development movement, right?
Mhm.
And it sometimes feel like oppressive optimism.
Yes.
And we've certainly talked about spiritual bypassing, right? Like, it's great, everything's fine, love and light. And it's like, you know what? No, it's not love and light, not today. I have a physical unwellness, I'm upset, I'm grief stricken, I'm dealing with some crazy shit. Like, no. So, but that is not to say that you cannot still make magic in your life. You do not have to be 100% positive or 100% convicted or 100% anything to make important changes in your life and to activate your magical powers. So yeah, I really
So like
I'm a-
grumpy magic is being with what you feel, but not shutting off the magic and going into the story. That's what I heard.
Right. That's exactly right.
Okay.
And even make it part of it. Like, I am going to do some reluctant yoga today. I'm going to do some bitching and moaning writing today. Like,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay.
my prayer practice is going to be complaining to God. Like, here's my list of complaints to God. Like, be real with yourself and open that up. Keeping it bottled inside does no one any good. You don't have to share it with other people, but share it with yourself. Acknowledge to yourself, like, wow, I am just wrecked, or wow, I am still thinking about that little thing that person said 3 days ago, or I'm still like, great, lean into it. And then we all know, like, first responders and people who work with trauma recovery tell us that what we can do as not professional trauma responders with someone who's unhappy or upset is just to be with them.
Yeah.
To just be with them in that moment. You don't have to say anything particularly. You don't have to do anything. In fact, it's better if you don't say or do very much. Just to sit with them and say, I see you. I hear you. I'm here with you. Right? That's what we can do for each other. And it is what we can do for ourselves. So when you let yourself have the tantrum you feel like having, when you let yourself stop being so good and brave all the time, there's a little bit of relaxation, and then your better angels, your higher self can witness that and say, yeah, babe, I get it. You're tired. Me too. Let's sit here for a sec.
Yeah. That's a
I will
powerful.
also say that some of the funniest things I've ever written have come out of those moments when I'm just completely exasperated with myself.
I follow you as I shared, and I am always drawn to your style of writing and your honesty, your vulnerability, your authenticity. So I'm so thrilled that you're here with me today. We're going to take our next break, and we come back. I want to talk a little bit more about something you call the alchemy of effort. I love these phrases, and alchemy is one of my favorite words. So we're going to be back in a moment, and I want to invite everyone, visit Sam Bennett at therealsambennett.com. Check out her new book, The 15-Minute Method, as well as all the other magical offerings she has on her website. We'll be right back.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Times Radio. FM.
Are you feeling called to clear your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual blockages? That's your soul and environment speaking to you and asking you to uncover all the clutter that is preventing you from living the life you envision. Felicia Messina DeHady, soul coaching master practitioner and trainer and teacher of advanced interior alignment and medicine wheel feng shui, supports her international clientele by creating inner and outer transformation in their environments and their lives by combining elements from her extensive training, experience, and intuition. Felicia is a master intuitive coach, certified by Colette Barron-Reed, and has served as a master mentor for Denise Lin's Elemental Space Clearing certification course, as well as her Ultimate Clutter Clearing. Explore her offerings, including certification courses in Feng Shui, space clearing, soul coaching, and Reiki at FeliciaDeHady.com.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Free your mind with Om Times Radio, IOM FM.
Welcome back, my friends. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. And today we're talking about how just 15 minutes a day can truly shift how you feel about yourself, get you out of overwhelm, and get you I think it's like reconnected with yourself. So there's something in the book you call the alchemy of effort. And share a little bit about that, because I just love that phrase.
Yeah, it links a little bit back to what we were talking about perfectionism and overwhelm. You know, when we try to think about everything in our heads before we do it, we try to plan everything out, we try to think of all the possible eventualities. You know, that's just an express elevator to hell, right? Instead of leaning into the alchemy or the magic of effort. So if you say, okay, I think I might want to write a screenplay, or I think I might want to do XYZ. Great. So you try it for 15 minutes a day, and you start doing it a little more, and it has an effect on you, you know, like, oh, I didn't realize I could write that well, or oh, I didn't never thought of it that way before, but now I've written it and that's really interesting and I want to follow that idea. So you've created a thing, and the thing is starting to change you because it's created. And then eventually you're probably going to want to share it with other people, either just in the way of conversation of like, hey, I've been doing a lot of needlepoint recently. And somebody else goes, you do needlepoint? I do cross stitch. Oh my gosh, we're sisters, you know? And now we've created some other magic. We've created some magic of connection. But maybe let's say you actually make the thing, you make the needlepoint tapestry, or you finish the screenplay, and then somebody else reads it. And then they are changed by it. And the work is also changed, right? Because it has been seen and witnessed and interpreted in a new way. And then maybe you get feedback and that changes you. And now we get this sort of infinity loop, this sort of Moebius strip of effort, impact, result, and then impact back, and then more effort, impact, result, and impact back. And we grow and change, and can grow and change the world through that magic, that alchemy, that mysterious process of moving something from idea to reality.
That's like the birthing process, you know, it's that energy. I loved how you described it, because it is an alchemy happening, you know, and from the innate to the birthing.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love some of the wording you came up with, and something you said earlier when you were saying, when we were talking about grumpy magic, you were saying, listen, even despite everything going on, you can still look for the magic while acknowledging. And that's one of, you know, I spread love, positivity, and all that. But one of my big messages, and my audience witnessed me living it, because, you know, life likes to throw curveballs at us, huh, Sam? Was I tell them this: listen, you'll always have two choices. You can look for the bullshit in life, excuse my language, or the blessings. The choice is yours. I'm someone that suffered with anxiety and depression for 35 years, pretty severe. And I spent those years looking for the bullshit and being in the energy and the story. And finally I said, I want to flip my script. So I tell them, even when we're going through hard things, you can experience them for what they are while still looking for blessings. Is that what I heard from you? Like, be present with what is while still keeping your eyes open on what's possible. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. And it's a bit of an art form, isn't it? Because, you know, we want to remember that everyone's carrying a heavy burden.
Yeah.
Everyone is suffering in ways that we know nothing about. No matter how glorious their life looks from the outside, I guarantee you they've got some heartbreak. And it has nothing to do with how many decimal points are on your bank account or how young or beautiful you are. Like, everyone gets the same amount of pain, you know? We just do. We get the same amount of pain. And it's I I appreciate what you're saying about I also have lived with depression and anxiety my whole life. You know, when I was a little girl, there was no such thing as childhood depression. That didn't exist. So everyone just sort of said, "Oh, she seems sad," you know? "She reads a
Yeah.
lot." Like, "What's going on?" Um, and I was just saying the other day, I said, "I feel like my whole life I've been carrying around a load of invisible bowling balls." And as a girl, it felt like people would say, you know, "Well, why don't you go out and play like the other kids?" And I'm sitting there going, "'Cause I have these invisible bowling balls? I don't, maybe you can't see them? Okay,
Yeah.
I guess we're not talking about that." So, you know, and then you struggle with other things, you know, I tried my whole life to get pregnant, that didn't work out. I've had some, you know, marriages that didn't work out and or that no, they worked out, they just ended, right? Just 'cause
Yeah.
marriage ends doesn't mean it failed. Um,
Exactly.
but, and certainly running your own business is no walk in the park.
Mm.
Uh,
That's
so
a great message though to say, like, we are all going to receive our curveballs, right? Our burdens. But even through this whole process and everything you share, like grumpy magic, it's like giving them permission to be with it all. We have a few minutes left, Sam, and I wanna ask you if what do you truly, truly hope that the readers will take away from your book? If there was one or two core messages you want them to like really grasp.
my dream is to have, I don't know, 1,000,000 people, 10,000,000 people, the whole world spending 15 minutes a day on something that matters to them.
Mm.
Just putting that into practice, just having that be part of everyone's day, having that be part of the vernacular. I don't know, maybe offices start just saying, "Okay, from 8 to 8:15 or 7:45 to 8 AM is your time." You know, don't use it to catch up on your to-do list, don't answer emails, spend 15 minutes on something that matters to you, and then whether or not it has to do with work, and then 8 o'clock we all go to work, fine. Um, I would love that. I would love that so much, and more than that, I would love to see us connecting around that because I was, you know, joking earlier, but it's true. Once we find out that maybe somebody we thought we didn't have anything in common with, and it turns out they love Chinese pottery too, or they, you know, also love Belize and the culture of the Belizean, like whatever it is, and all of a sudden we have this kinship, this family. I'm like, ah, right now
Yeah.
I know you and I appreciate you more, and we show up more as ourselves at work. You know, when I was working full time as an actor in LA, I had a lot of day gigs, and they were mostly great. I mean, I had some really terrific day gigs, but I always felt like I was leaving 50% of myself in the car.
Oh,
You know, they
wow.
didn't really care who I was as a person. I was there to do a job, and that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Yes, they were paying me to be a functionary, to do a thing. Um, but how much more wonderful to show up at that office and not just have everybody there to do the thing they're being paid to do, but also to show up as the fullness of themselves. You know,
Mm.
"Oh my gosh, that guy sings opera," and, "Oh my gosh, that person, you know, texts their grandchildren every morning, and that person is writing a children's book, and that person loves corgis," and, you know, like, this is how we connect with one another, and in a world that is so fractured and so there's so much money to be made in divisiveness, uh,
Yeah,
and
we
and
do. We need that community connection. That's what was lost, and that feeling of belonging,
yes.
right? That's what I hear so much from our audience. This digital age has really, especially when we all went digital, we have about a minute left, but we lost ourselves. We lost the connection. I think so many women are yearning for it back. So I love that you actually have a membership community to bring them all into the 15 minutes to feel seen, to be give them a space. So I want to invite everyone to make sure you go to the realsambennett.com, not only to grab a copy of a book, look at her offerings, check out her membership. Is there a certain button, link, or anything they need to know to find that on your website?
It should just be right there on the homepage. We're actually updating the page right now, so I'm not exactly sure what's on there this second, but, but yeah, go ahead and just sign up for whatever the email list is. And then you'll get to see what I do with email, which is kind of fun. But yeah, 15 minutes a day to belong to yourself and then to belong with other people as well.
I gotta tell you, this is speaking to my soul, my friend.
Mhm.
I am so glad that you were able to circle up with me today. I'm excited to be sharing your wisdom in the upcoming August-September issue of Aspire magazine. This is such an important message. I love the whole mission behind it, the intention behind it. And thank you, Sam, for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Linda. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Well, until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness, and blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.